The first thing on my list is the China COVID situation. For the last 3 years, they've been pursuing what's called the zero COVID policy. We're talking Shanghai, 26 million people, Beijing, 22 million people, and other cities. And it doesn't work in the long run. It can contain in the short run at enormous cost, absolutely does not work in the long run. But it was all done for political reasons because Chairman Xi Jinping wanted to get his third term unprecedented, the new communist emperor of China. So he did, he got third term. So suddenly there are massive riots, demonstrations all over the country, breaking down barricades, tearing down testing tents, storming through cities, hanging banners. And if you're the leadership, do they care about people's welfare? No, but they remember Tiananmen Square, 1989, when they put it down by killing thousands of people. So they threw in the towel on COVID. They said, okay, we're just going to let it go, let it rip. So what's going to happen next? Wall Street has always got the pom-poms out, the Wall Street cheerleaders, buy stocks, buy Chinese stocks. So the bulls are saying, well, now get in China because they're reopening and they're going to get going. It's not going to happen for two reasons. Number one, it's a population of 1.4 billion people. Assume a 30% infection rate, which I think is conservative. A lot of estimates, some people say 50 to 60% before you achieve what they call herd immunity. But let's just say 30% to be on the conservative side. That's 420 million people are going to be infected with COVID in the coming months. That number could be 600 million if you get up to a 60% infection rate. The fatality rate is 0.25%, which is quite low, meaning 99.75% survival rate. Well, that's the good news. Bad news is 0.25% of 420 million is a million. You're talking about 1 million dead. But how many are in hospitals? How many are in ICU beds? They don't have nearly enough. So it's not just a question of the fatality rates. It's a question of what can you do to offer medical treatment or any kind of assistance to the 400 million or more people who are infected. So first of all, that's going to shut down that's inevitable. That's the math. It's not speculation. That's going to do more damage to the economy than the lockdown. China has no good way out because zero COVID, you're going to call it revolution and it doesn't work. If you let it rip, you got 1 million to 1.5 million dead. Kind of coming out of my book, Sold Out About the Supply Chain. Go to your local CVS or Rite Aid or Walgreens or whatever pharmacy you have. Try getting ibuprofen, Tamiflu. Can't get it or the shelves are bare. Because why? We get that from China. 80 to 90% of those over-the-counter medications come from China. The Chinese know their medical facilities can't handle what's coming, so they're going to have to self-medicate. So they're hoarding that stuff themselves, stripping it off the shelves, which means we don't get it because they can't ship it to us because they're hoarding it because they don't have enough hospitals. So this is central order from Beijing, ripples through the Chinese population, and all of a sudden moms and dads in Phoenix or Boston can't get ibuprofen. And by the way, the Chinese economy was in trouble anyway. The idea that China's robust and growing, too bad about the COVID, that's not true. And COVID's a disaster, humanitarian and medical disaster. But China was suffering anyway because of too much debt, real estate collapse, decoupling from the U.S., technological lags, cutting off their ability to steal their intellectual property, and a lot else besides. So China is probably going to have negative growth this year, maybe even negative growth next year. There's not going to be some great reopening. If you're invested, get out. If you're not invested, don't go in because it's a disaster.